Hi there. This is Dr. Kent Gregory again, and welcome to part two of Human Resource Management, Chapter 3, where we continue our discussion of diversity and multiculturalism. All right, so now what? After talking about the differences between diversity and multiculturalism, as well as some of the basic steps or basic considerations of setting up a diversity plan, now what? So, once a plan is in place, what an HR manager may consider, or should consider, I should say, are training topics on multiculturalism. So, the goal of this would be to build a cultural knowledge about customs, religions, and histories, um, offer childcare and flexible work schedule options. So, employees know you're willing to accommodate employees with children or other duties at home. And I think this is particularly important and maybe more easily done, perhaps, in this COVID world that we're in, where many people are working from home. Consider offering paid time off instead of holiday pay, so employees can choose what days they'd like to take off. And this allows you to avoid, um, you know, sensibilities around Christmas, where typically you would allow people off for Christmas, which is less applicable for people who aren't Christian or who just don't celebrate Christmas. Um, Discuss treatment of people based on them as individuals rather than as part of a group, which can result in stereotyping. Teach employees to listen actively. Uh, Train employees to rethink current policies and how those policies might be exclusive to a certain group. And this is important for a general strategic plan anyway, because you always want to rethink what you're doing, how you're doing it, what your goals are, and what that strategic plan is. Work on resistance to change. Many employees think, hey, you know what? This is the way we've always done it. Now we have to change it because we have a group of, blank working here now. So that's a much more present, non-passive way of looking at it. But sometimes there's just resistance to change because it's change, right? People just like to do things the way they've always done it, particularly if they don't necessarily see or understand the negative impacts. Um, does your leadership team have a multiculturalism perspective? Are many ethnic backgrounds and other multicultural traits represented in that management team? Uh, Allow for office-friendly apparel choices. So those with religious beliefs on clothing can have options that fit with their beliefs. Uh, Things to consider. Do you test your assumptions before acting on them? That's another way of saying think before you act. Uh, do you believe there's only one right way of doing things, or that there are a number of valid ways to accomplish the same goal? And do you convey that to staff? And do you have honest relationships with each staff member that you supervise? Are you comfortable with each of them? Do you know what motivates them, what their goals are, how they like to be recognized? Are they comfortable with you? And are you able to give negative feedback to someone who is culturally different from you? And do you know how to do that? When you have open positions, do you insist on a diverse screening committee and make additional outreach efforts to ensure a diverse pool of candidates? And when you hire an employee, do you not only explain job responsibilities and expectations, but orient the person to the campus and department culture? Do you rigorously examine your unit's existing policies, practices, and procedures to ensure that they do not differentially impact different groups? And if they do you change them? Are you willing to listen to constructive feedback from your staff about ways to improve the work environment? And think about this from another perspective. A happy, fulfilled employee is going to stick with you and be more productive. So there's a concrete, tangible example of how this can and manifest itself as a benefit to your organization. Do you take immediate action with people you supervise when they behave in ways that show disrespect for others in the workplace? Do you make good faith efforts to meet your affirmative action goals? And do you understand institutionalisms, such as racism and sexism, and how they manifest in the workplace? And then on the final page of things to consider, do you ensure that assignments and opportunities for advancement are available to everybody? And what policies, practices, and ways of thinking have differential impact on different groups? And then finally, what organizational changes should be made to meet the needs of a diverse workforce? So that concludes part two. And part three will focus on some other things to consider, but it'll go into a little bit more detailed discussion of the EEOC. Thank you much.